Hello all, Rick here again with another index, looking this time to the Star Trek universe and one of the Federation's closest allies, the Betazoids. They are probably even a member of the UFB, but to my knowledge that hasn't even been directly confirmed on screen, it's just sort of presumed, and certainly is the case in media outside of the shows. As usual, I will be looking into the canon and then other media to expand upon this telepathic species to try to build a more cohesive look at them. Beginning with their homeworld itself, Beta Zed. So, in the Star Trek history, an astronomer named Sir John Burke first identified the planet in the 21st century when he spotted the fifth world orbiting a G-type star was a terrestrial one. He named the system Beta Zeta, which is where the Federation identifier comes from. The actual name for the planet, according to some, is Sindriel, but not as commonly used as the degradation of its Terran identifier. The planet is an M-class world and very similar to Earth. Its climate is calm and warm for the most part, but varies from tropical in some places to frigid Arctic conditions at its poles. Continuing to compare it to Earth, it has 78% surface water, is around 1 G, and the weather can shift with far less warning and rapidity than our worlds. It can become rather stormy and rains more frequently, but its drier seasons are also drier. The planet has also made it a point to not use a weather control system, and it has 5 continents and hundreds of islands. As you'd expect from such a temperate world, the terrain is a mixture of jungles, forests, many lakes and open stretches of farmland. Its geological activity has also rendered up magnificent mountain ranges, valleys and canyons. The Loneal mountain range, for example, houses many defunct magma tunnels and interconnected caves. This all sounds rather familiar, but there are a few strange touches too. Many areas of the planet are rich in the mineral versina, which is a powdered crystal commonly found in soil which can give it a sparkling effect. Similarly, there are mountain ranges with high levels of crystal deposits, creating spectacular skies at times as the sunlight refracts off them. The capital city is called Rix, and it's not uncommon for cities and towns of Beta Zed to be constructed on spires, stilts or an elevated platform to reduce their footprint and preserve as much of the wildlife below, leaving it open for nature to claim. The Betazoids themselves are also very human in their appearance. In fact, they are so similar that they are easily mistaken for humans. The only real visual tell is that their irises are completely black. Of course, the most well-known trait of a Betazoid is their telepathy and empathic abilities. The average Betazoid begins to develop these powers after childhood, as psilolysine levels rise in their brain, the neurotransmitter being the key component to their abilities. The psionic powers included the ability to sense thought and emotions, but also project their own into the minds of others. This can lead them to even subtly manipulate others through this projection, but the level of functionality over their powers varies wildly from individual to individual. They are also known to form a powerful bond with individuals, enabling a telepathic link even with non-telepaths, and some extremely gifted Betazoids can even learn minor telekinesis. These powers are not present in young Betazoids, and if it is not pleasant, as they lack the discipline and control to filter and handle all the surrounding thoughts, which often leads to lifelong psychological problems. These telepathic traits can lessen in the offspring of interspecies couples, with telepathy between non-telepaths being the first element to fade, but even then it would take several more generations of non-telepathic pairings for the psionic potential to dwindle completely. Looking into their history provides a good grounding for their culture and paints a good picture of who they are as a people. Needless to say, this is mostly apocryphal. In their mythology, there was a heroic figure called Chrysaros, who amassed a number of acolytes who followed them. After Chrysaros had passed away, his acolytes went on to become the eventual founders for their exalted houses of Beta Zed, of which there are around 20 or so. A number of these rose to prominence in time, effectively becoming a matriarchal nobility among the others, and each of the houses governed an area of land and all the people within. It's not known how the houses functioned in the past, but we can look at post-Federation Betazoid to see more info. Their governmental structure has been described as a constitutional oligarchy, which still has traces of its traditional matriarchy in its positions. Each of the houses had figures on a planetary council that would debate and decide matters for all, but each representative could be contacted through the hierarchy from the top all the way to any individual Betazoid. Traditionally, the 5th house has been the most influential, although that position is mostly ceremonial in their governmental structure. Nevertheless, each of these houses still maintains an estate and grounds, which makes for popular tourist destinations. In 2139, the Betazoid vessel Yavanda achieved Warp 1, and soon after they made contact with the Terebians, but this encounter ended in skirmishes. This put off the Betazoids from further exploration for a time, instead focusing on more exploring their own solar system and taking things slow. Funnily enough, this cautious approach meant that they never peeked beyond the curtain for a couple of decades, even as the NX-01 missed their system, never detecting them. The first time Betazoids heard of humans, or even Vulcans for that matter, was in 2161, when they heard that a major shift was underway, one too close to home to ignore, the founding of the United Federation of Planets. Eventually, what with Beta Zeta being only slightly beyond the founding 4 member systems, the Betazoids tentatively opened a dialogue with the UFP. Between 2246 and 73, they began and completed the process of applying for Federation membership, and when accepted, abandoned their matriarchal elements and went full in on involving themselves with their partnered worlds. They quickly proved themselves as very useful diplomats, counsellors, and even information gatherers, and Beta Zed became the site for numerous trade conferences and other such endeavours. They house many sites of philosophy and learning, such as the aptly named University of Beta Zed, the Yol Trap, the Inarian University, and many others. They have had almost no history of large-scale warfare on their world, and many attribute this to their psionic powers. Warfare, quite simply, brings a high level of suffering, and for a telepathic species, such a wave of despair is unbearable, and so violence beyond any small personal level is practically unheard of. They are literally too empathic to tolerate nationwide fighting. This has led them to develop a philosophy focused around ensuring contentment and comfort for as many as possible, and is best summed up by their philosophical creed, Rabim, simply translated to I understand. Their mythology, however, is not absent of conflict, and may be tied to their religious beliefs. It is said that they were at war with non-corporeal demons that antagonized them, and that they had to battle with the mind, which is why they developed telepathy. Who knows if that holds any basis in fact, but the world does still have remnants of their religions, or at least one of. In their linguistics, there are curse words that refer to the Great Fire, which is analogous to Hell, and references to the 4 deities too, so clearly they had a pantheon of gods. There still exists sanctuaries on Beta Zed, such as the Janaran Sanctuary, which is staffed by elders of some importance, and tradition and ceremony are woven throughout their culture, especially amid the houses where it's expected. Marriages, for example, are traditionally performed in the nude, nuddy, nada, nothing, stark bollock naked, for all involved, as a rather overt display of trust and vulnerability. And now for the question you have all been waiting for. What is the sacred chalice of Rix and the holy rings of Beta Zed? So, legend has it that the sacred chalice, which is also used as a symbol for the Betazoid people, was a clay pot that was by now a bit mouldy. Oh, okay. But the rings are a set of rings that were given by Chrysaros to an acolyte called Rix around 9 BC, and are therefore artifacts from that time. As they are both in possession by the 5th house, at this time the Troy family, they serve as evidence of the family's direct lineage back to one of these founding members of Beta Zed society, Rix, who also has the capital city named after them. All this history was put in jeopardy during the Dominion War, as poor planetary defence systems, and it being such a core world, led to the Dominion targeting and seizing the planet for a time between 2374 and 2375. The Battle of Beta Zed saw a resistance cell successfully manage to force the Jem'Hadar off-world shortly before the Treaty of Bajor, but it came at a high cost. The Betazoid people had to use their psionic powers to force empathy onto the Jem'Hadar, causing them to either go berserker against it or pass out. This forcing of telepathic ability often caused the Betazoids to perish themselves, but they did not wish to fight directly, not wanting to mar their long history of no direct warfare. Amic Hall stands as a monument to the Betazoids who died in the Dominion War, and it was built on the ruins of Buram Hall, which itself has been levelled by Dominion attacks. They are now free to rebuild, and having weathered the storm, hopefully they have a brighter tomorrow ahead. So, thanks for watching this video on the Betazoids. Sorry there's not too much accurate footage or screenshots. Most of that lore comes from Apocrypha, but it does show a very in-line depiction of them. As for their next index, well, a while ago I did a video on the Mind Flayers of D&D because of their sci-fi edge to them, and promised to look into the Gith at some point in the future too, so there's option 1. Option 2 are the Zygarians of Star Wars. Leave your vote over on the community tab and feel free to make more suggestions below, and thanks for watching. I've been Rick, and I'll see you again later for another video. Goodbye.